Hi Year 11, welcome to your video tutorial. This video tutorial is intended for students completing the Stage 6 Software Engineering syllabus, first unit of work Programming Fundamentals, and the very first syllabus dot point, Software Development. Information and images gathered in this presentation have been sourced from Software Engineering, the Year 11 course, unless otherwise stated.
In this syllabus dot point today, we are going to continue looking at modelling tools. More specifically today, we are going to look at data flow diagrams and how you can use data flow diagrams to help develop and generate solutions. So, what's a data flow diagram? In essence, a data flow diagram makes really clear for the developer the data and how it flows through the system, from maybe the external entity, like the person interacting with the system, through the processes and into potential data stores. Data flow diagrams are really important because they make obvious or help map out all the different components from the system. You can then use this understanding to ensure that when you are making a software solution, not only have you considered all the components, but you can also use a data flow diagram to work out, well, based on these components and based on the data and how it's moving and in transit around this system, what could some potential vulnerabilities be? A data flow diagram has 4 essential symbols. A circle, which is a process symbol. The easiest way to really think about these are the modules or the main subroutines potentially in your solution. A rectangle with one end open, that is a data store. Examples of data stores are databases, servers, anything where the data is coming to be stored and at rest. An external entity is a square closed in, can also sometimes be a rectangle closed in, as long as it's quadrilateral. The most common external entity is a person, but it can be an element of an organisation. And these things are connected, as you're about to see in the example, with a curved arrow. On the curved arrow is written the data that flows either from an external entity to a process or a process to a data store. So let's have a look at this example. This example is not meant to show the steps or, the order in which things are executed in the system. It is essentially showing the flow of data. So this is a data flow diagram for a voting system. You will see here on the outside, you have candidates. They are the people who are looking to be voted for. You have voters, you have the public, and then you have a number of different processes. Essentially, this system has been summarized into a nomination process, a voting process, and a results process. You will see that there is 2 data stores, an electoral roll and endorsed candidates. These are where information or data is stored. You should be able to, at any particular point in time, you do not have to read this from left to right, up to down, but at any particular point on the data flow diagram, you should be able to zoom into a process and follow the arrows around in order to understand how the data flows through the system. I'm just going to do it from candidates and show you an example. So the candidates are the external entry. They're the people. They are Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, they are the candidates. So from them, their details are put into the nomination process. Yeah, the nomination process spits out a lot of successful candidates. They then get saved in a database called endorsed candidates. You'll notice that this here is a piece of data and this here is a piece of data. The voters then put in their data, which is details and votes. It goes into a voting process. Their vote goes and connects to the endorsed candidates database. The endorsed candidates then send back a list of available candidates to the voting process that the voters can actually vote for. They vote with a confirmation coming back out of that. The voters' details then get sent to the electoral roll so that they can check and see if they have already voted or they are allowed to vote. The endorsed candidates database, those details are then sent, the candidates' details and all the votes are sent to a results process. The results process then sends the final election results back out to the public. You'll notice while I've been talking about this, like, this is how the system works, it's not so much what subroutine gets executed, how does it get executed, or in what order. It's really following the pieces of data around the system and what moves between, an external entity or a user's inputting data. What happens to that data? Where does it get passed? Where does it get stored? Data flow diagrams, in the context of secure software development, will particularly help you identify where potential vulnerabilities are in your system. So if you're putting in, details and you're storing them here, how is that data being stored in transit? If there was a logon, your details and your votes, assuming you have a logon, how is that being handled? Is it being encrypted? The electoral roll over here, the electoral roll is going to have a lot of sensitive data on there. How is the voters' details being protected in transit? How are they being saved here? If this voter details and voting was a web application, what are you doing here? What's the potential asset? Is it the voters' details? What's the potential threat and how are you going to mitigate it? It becomes really obvious what all the different components are or what all the different assets are in your system once you map it out in a data flow diagram.